Hello friends, welcome back to the Sci-Fi Dragon channel. Just for fun, I've decided to share my Star Trek collection with you. To keep viewing time manageable, I'm presenting my collection in a 3-part video series. This first video will be about collectible novelty items and odds and ends. The second video will cover my Trek tech, and the last video will present my Star Trek weaponry. Now, you'd think someone who's been a Trekker since the first pilot aired in 1966 would have a huge collection of memorabilia. But my collection's fairly small, which means these videos won't be too long. Even as a kid, I was never into collecting trading cards, comic books, or action figures. Yet, somehow, I've even acquired some of these forms of memorabilia in my Star Trek collection. We'll get to those soon. Okay, let's get started. I'll begin with something all Trekkers should recognize. These are my tribbles. Mo, Larry, Curly, and Shemp. Mo purrs and vibrates. Larry is just a little furball. He doesn't do anything. Curly purrs when you squeeze him. And Shemp? Well, he squeaks. Next up is my Star Trek pins collection, including my comm badge pins. I don't have too many decorative pins, but a few are interesting pieces like my Vulcan pin with a diamond chip. Right, the diamond is as real as any Vulcan. There's my Starfleet Intelligence Division pin. And of course, there's the big 20th anniversary pin. I suppose some of the pins in my collection could be used as jewelry, but these Megadot gizmos were actually marketed as futuristic jewelry. About the only thing Star Trek about these Megadot pins are their delta shapes. Oh wait, there is one that actually looks like a Star Trek symbol. Now here's an odd collectible. Ever wonder what Kirk wore under his boots? It must have been a pair of these Star Trek uniform socks. These are in official Starfleet colors with Command, Science, and Engineering Division symbols. My collection includes a few fridge magnets. The gold Starfleet emblems are my own design that I used to sell at Trek conventions. Somehow, I managed to acquire a fairly comprehensive collection of Star Trek trading cards. This nifty tin, yeah, I said nifty. Anyway, this tin contains 2 decks of Star Trek playing cards. There are just a few ID cards in my collection. Here they are. And finally, I have a complete set of Star Trek trivia cards. Each card has 6 questions on the front with answers on the back. How would you answer this one? What was the general diagnosis of Spock's father's illness in the Journey to Babel episode? Give up? The answer is a heart problem. Except for one, the figures in my collection were all gifts. My Mr. Worf action figure was a present from my son, long ago. My favorite figure in this collection is this 12-inch Lieutenant Uhura's figure. Yeah, that figures. The most unusual item in this group is a working wooden Mr. Spock nutcracker. The only figure I ever bought for myself was this large-scale vinyl model of Mr. Spock. And my paint job came out pretty well. At least I think so. My son was very into comics when he was young and gave me these as birthday presents or Christmas presents. Check the price on this one, 12 cents. When was the last time you paid 12 cents for anything? Speaking of prices, get a load of this one. $120? Really? Gee, I wonder what it's worth today. Next are my keychains. Well, there are only 2 of these. No Star Trek collection would be complete without a few uniforms. I have one, or 2, or, well, you'll see. I have several TOS shirts in gold, including a Season 1 shirt. The fabric for this is heavier than the Season 2 or 3 shirts, and the collar and braid are slightly different from Season 2 and 3. My collection includes 2 science or medical uniform shirts. Those are the blue ones. I also have 2 red shirts, but I don't use them often. We all know what happens to red shirts. I even have one of those funky green things that Kirk wore in an episode or two. Finally, I've got 2 movie-style uniforms. One of these I picked up at a convention. The other was handmade for me by a tailor friend of my wife's. I have a fair number of Star Trek novels and official Star Trek publications. Lastly, I really want to show you this rather odd item. It's a kid's storybook with a read-along record that tells the story and cues you when to turn pages as you read the book. I'm not what you'd call an autograph hound, but I did collect a few Star Trek autographs. Of course, I had to get Nichelle Nichols' signature. Love that lady. I guess I must have had the hots for Yeoman Rand back in my convention-going days, because I've got 3 Grace Lee Whitney signatures. You'd think I'd have gone after Leonard Nimoy for an autograph. No, instead I got one from the sexy Vulcan. It's not a personal autograph, but I couldn't pass up this Jean and Majel plaque. I've saved the best novelty items for last. These are all my own creations. At first, I made some simple static dilithium crystal displays. These were made with real quartz crystals and some simple hand-sculpted clay bases. Amazingly, I actually sold dozens of these at Trek conventions. I guess that unique plus cheap sells well. My next version of the dilithium crystal display featured a dazzle tape covered clear box with a battery in the base. Of course, these light up. The last version of my dilithium displays came in these clear domes, and these also light up. Similar to the dilithium crystals are these Vulcan Meditation crystals that I created. I used large quartz crystals mounted on rotating mirror bases. As you can see, these produce rather interesting light shows. Well, we've come to the end of this video. I hope you found some of the items I presented, interesting. If you had fun with this video, please help me grow my channel by giving it a like on YouTube and subscribing to the Sci-Fi Dragon channel. If you haven't already. Thanks for watching. Be sure to watch part 2 of this series, Collecting Trek Tech.